Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about a Superman issue 23 by Joshua Williamson, Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez. Superman and Superwoman's battle with Doomsday and Time Trapper continues as time has slowed for Lois, all thanks to Time Trapper. Lois was en route to save Jimmy Olsen from one of Radiant's blasts. However, she starts doubting herself, trying to convince herself that she can and will stop the blast, even though she's still quite far away from it. She knows Trapper is there to offer her the same deal he offered her husband. He was to kill Trapper and turn him into a time god, but instead of admitting as much, Trapper instead talks about when Superman killed him back during their original fight in the 1990s, and how he didn't hear the attack or his body hitting the ground. All he heard was Lois's grief and tears, things that broke Superman and would lead to the dark future. Trapper offers Lois a chance to change that future if she does what her husband cannot, even teasing her with being able to show her the moment of her own death. Williamson is really making a meal out of Lois getting superpowers here. He isn't just having her, be a supporting character to Superman. He's actually involving her in this main plot and actually making a big deal out of her getting superpowers. It could have been so easy to have the whole, haha, Lois has superpowers for a week type storyline happen here, but I love that there's an actual weighted storyline for her to partake in. Lois declines Trapper's offer, socking him in the jaw, which seemingly shocks the villain. Lois reveals that she knows that she cried and grieved when Superman died, but not because he died, but because he died doing something he hated, taking a life. And since Trapper is there trying to bribe them to kill him, she realizes that he needs them and thus he won't actually hurt them. Trapper gets extremely petty here since, of course, he can't hurt these people that he needs, so instead he'll hurt the people around them, deciding that he's going to leave Lois to do her job as a hero, but instead of giving her the same amount of extra moments Superman got last time he froze time when he fought Doomsday, he won't do the same for her, and upon snapping his fingers, time restarts instantly. Despite moving faster than a locomotive, Superwoman barely pushes Jimmy out of the way of Radiant's blast, and Jimmy ends up getting hit by part of it. While Superwoman deals with the consequences of her actions, Superman, who has gone code red and is being influenced by the red kryptonite in his blood, continues to blast Radiant and his men. Clark is able to pull himself back from his anger for just a moment, trying to regain control of his body. Interestingly, Radiant doesn't use the opportunity to attack outright, but instead tries to convince Superman to direct his anger towards the person who needs it the most, Doomsday, citing the ruin he is causing not just throughout Metropolis but has done through the decades. The villain does end up blasting Superman before trying to take on Doomsday himself again, but Trapper again shows up, stopping Superman in his tracks. Superman, still filled with rage, decides to take it out on Time Trapper, thrashing him over and over again, something Trapper is hoping that he will continue and even finish up on. As Superman gives in to the Red K rage, Lena finds Lex working on a way to deal with the monsters besieging the city, a way that requires him to find one of his old war suits. Superman's fight begins causing a lot of havoc, so Superwoman and the rest of the Superman family try and clear the way of Radiant's troops and try and rescue as many people as they can in the combat area. It is just like a one panel, one page sort of thing here, but I do like that the Superman family are around actually helping. They're like running the rescue while Superwoman and Superman deal with the actual threats. I kind of like that idea that they're like the backup, getting the people out of the way and trying to just cause as minimal damage as possible, even though, they're fighting Doomsday, which is very hard to do. Luckily, Lex arrives with a weapon that he believes will finally end the battle, and they just need to get Doomsday, Radiant, and the army into the sky. Thanks to Superman caught in his rage, Superwoman is forced to tackle her husband away from the fight and let Lex fire his weapon, which interestingly doesn't kill Radiant or, obliterate them and Doomsday or the Aftermath in any way. Instead, it actually shrinks them down and bottles them safely away. Lex's reasonings for this are quite simple too, figuring that if Brainiac's bottles can hold multiple Kryptonians, Zarnians, and other super strong races, then it can hold Doomsday as well. So earlier, I couldn't help but have a feeling that everything that's happening here and that what we're seeing is going to be a result in Doomsday becoming Time Trapper. We know he eventually does become Time Trapper in some way, like maybe he was the one who thought to use his powers to go back in time and maybe manipulate Grafton Farm into infecting Superman with Red K, so when the time came to it, Superman would be able to be goaded into killing Time Trapper, which is what is happening here. He's actively fighting against the rage that wants him to kill Time Trapper. My suspicions are further confirmed when Lex says that time is slowed in the bottle, and Mercy wonders if Doomsday inside dies from slowing down time, then what type of powers will he be resurrected with? And this is such a genius idea. Time kills Doomsday and he comes back from it, and because he's evolved to not be killed by the same thing twice, he now has power over time, hence why he becomes Time Trapper. It's such an interesting idea to do with the villain, and one I've never really considered. Like, I have totally understood the idea that he does evolve after being killed by something, which is why Superman needs to always find a new way to deal with him. He can't just punch him in the face again like he did back in The Death of Superman. But I never once considered that if something like time was to kill Doomsday, then he would have power over it because he wouldn't be able to be killed by it again. It's such an interesting take on the villain, and one I'm really looking forward to seeing what Williamson does with, since that's a whole new avenue of things that Doomsday can have access to now, and make him a bit more of a developed and meatier character than just big guy who killed Superman once. Superman and Superwoman kind of realize what's happening here, calling what Lex did a mistake. Before they can properly argue though, Lena arrives and tells the group about Jimmy, who has been taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. Clark goes to see Jimmy, covering for Lois, who can't face what has happened to him, herself feeling responsible for not saving him in time. Now this is Lois's kind of teaching moment, as she's figured that the powers were all fun and games, and because of it, Jimmy was hurt, and it's made her realize that there's a little bit more to them than just, being able to fly around and lift buildings and stuff like that. Before she can tell Clark that she wants to look at giving up her powers, or at least getting rid of them in some way, Silver Banshee attacks them, blaming Superwoman for Jimmy's condition, seeing as he was trying desperately to get a photo of the mysterious Superwoman, being that no one knows her identity. I really do like that Banshee is coming for Lois in this way, since she is completely right. Lois was playing around with Jimmy about the identity of the Superwoman, and like she said, treating it like a game. I do understand there's the whole idea that if Jimmy had worked out that Lois was Superwoman, he'd probably work out that Clark was Superman, and then Lex's mind stroke thing that happened to Perry would then happen to him. But Lois was kind of playing a little bit too loose with it, and kind of almost torturing Jimmy with it. She knew he was always after this photo and did nothing to really stop it, because she's Superwoman, she's just super fast, she'll get out of the way really quickly, and that ends up coming to bite her back in the ass. Banshee stops her attack and decides that she doesn't really care who the Superwoman is, but wants her to know that she has made herself her first arch enemy. As Banshee leaves, Lois begins to think this is the beginning of what Time Trapper warned them about, realizing that it wasn't about Doomsday or Aftermath coming after them, but their choices bringing about a dark future. Jimmy is now upset, Silver Banshee is returning to more of a villainous route. Things are starting to get bad for the family. Lois and Clark's discussion is benched for the moment, as surprisingly, we end up checking in on General Zod, who is still floating around the galaxy in his space prison ship that he now commands. His medical staff scan his body, theorizing that he might be weaker because he hasn't been near a yellow sun as of late. It's been some time since he has, so he'll need to go near one to recharge. So his people begin plotting a course, but it's one that will take him some time to get to, and to ensure no one finds out that he is without his powers and quite weakened, Zod kills the medical doctor, crushing his head. I like that it's just one page to catch up on what Zod's been up to, but I like that we're still running with that. It wasn't just some big sort of tease we got a couple of issues ago in that Superwoman special. They're actually actively building towards Zod making his way back towards Earth, which is very fun. Elsewhere at the end of Time, Time Trapper calls out to Superman to come and change time, citing how once Darkseid returns, things will get much, much worse. Trapper is suddenly attacked by someone who says that he messed up time and tried to work with the wrong side, and he should have come to them. The beings are revealed to be Darkseid's Absolute Legion, characters we have seen over in the Absolute Universe, who plan on killing Time Trapper, but not before they learn more about the Superman he speaks of. Now this is very, very big. This is the first huge tie-in to the Absolute Universe that a mainline DC book has made. We have characters we saw Darkseid creating in that DC All-In when Booster Gold ended up in the Absolute Universe, he was accosted by these Absolute Legion members, and here we get to see them in the Prime Universe. They're at the end of time in the Prime Universe, seemingly looking into who Superman is. This is massive, and it looks like we're going to actually get more of this in the summer, so we don't have to wait all that long, but I'm intrigued to see if we get more tie-ins or more little like hints at the back pages of upcoming Superman issues as we head into the summer events. Superman issue 23 resolved Superman's new Doomsday problem in a really interesting and cool way, one that used all our main characters to great effect, giving them all a moment to shine, but none more so than Lois, who is getting really her trials and tribulations with her newfound powers. Everything Williamson has set up here with Time Trapper and Doomsday and how the past is affecting the future and vice versa is so well done, and I love the idea of Doomsday eventually conquering time itself, like beating time and beating death and gaining new powers because of it. It's such an interesting take on the character. With the final pages revealing a great connection to the Absolute Universe, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Williamson and the other writers have in store for us as we approach DC's big summer events in the coming months. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.